Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. Just give me 1 second, please. Okay. Jai. Okay. So, let's start with the Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunj Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunj Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giravardhari Shodanandan Vrajjana Ranjana Shodanandan Vrajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunj Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunj Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Gyantimirnasya Gyananjanashlakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadameyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Krishna Setam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranmami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatu Brihascha Kirpa Sindhavevacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo 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 Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Parcharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Dishatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasdi Go Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Mukham Kroti Vachalam Pangam Langyate Grim Yat Kirpata Mandeshi Gurundin Taranam Paramananda Madam Shri Chaitanya Ishram Hari Om Tassat Narayan Namaskritya Naram Cheva Naruttamam Devim Sasvyatam Tato Chemaduriyat Nashtabra Shabdureshu Nityamabhasya Bhagavati Uttam Shloktir Bhaktir Bhavati Nestiki. Okay, so let's stop sharing. So thank you once again for joining, and thank you Puri Mataji, Smita Mataji, thank you all for joining today. We've got a couple of people missing. If we just gotta sort out my camera here. Alright, just give me 1 second. It's alright, we're doing other stuff. That's why this is all moved. Where's he gone? Okay. Don't know what they've been doing to this. Okay. Right, so I'm not getting any choices for this. Okay. Anyway, not to worry, we'll work like this today. And yeah, so this, you can see a couple of people missing, Radharani and Ajay, but they will join next time. So, last time we were talking about so we were discussing Ashtanga Yoga in the previous verses, and we said that Ashtanga Yoga is quite a difficult process that was, in the previous yugas. Now Lord Chaitanya for Kali Yuga and Srila Prabhupada, they have given us a really easy process. This is devotional service. It's much easier and takes less time, and it's more effective, because we've seen with the Ashtanga Yoga that it's sort of, you're suppressing your senses, and they can still easily go out of control as well. So devotional service is the way to go. And we also discussed that we should always try and remain in the mode of goodness, not in passion or in ignorance. Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport that people in the mode of passion and ignorance, we are either chasing wealth, or, so referring to the men, either chasing wealth or women, and they both lead to trouble, right? Too much wealth, misused again, right? And too much, causes a lot of pride, and trying to get that wealth, you may go into do wrong things, break the law even. So you're chasing after wealth and chasing after women. Instead of chasing after wife, you just stay with the wife. You're chasing after other people's wives or other people's daughters, can lead to problems. Even relationships, they lead to problems. As we read all the time, there's so many problems. So stay in the mode of goodness. That is like a protection. Not only a protection, that's the mode nearest to pure goodness. If you want spirituality, then that best launching pad is the mode of goodness. So we do that. So, and we also mentioned about impersonalists, that the Gyanis, they will get bhakti, but after many births, right? Bahunam Janmanam Anante. So devotion service is the easiest way once again, and that is a conclusion. So we'll find that again it's mentioned again in verse 22. Rajo avacha yatha sandaryate brahman dharana yatra samata yadrishi va harit ashu puryasya mano malam. So Raj avacha, the fortunate king said, yatha, as it is, sandharyate, the conception is made, Brahman, O Brahman, dharana, conception, yatra, where and how, samata, in a summary, yadrishi, the way by which, va, O, harit, extricated, ashu, without delay, purushasya, of a person, mana, of the mind, malam, dirty things. So the fortunate king Parikshit, inquiring, further said, O Brahman, please describe in full detail how and where the mind has to be applied, and how the conception can be fixed so that the dirty things in a person's mind can be removed. So Srila Prabhupada explains, the dirty things in the heart of a conditioned soul are the root cause of all troubles for him. And it's the dirty things that lead us into passion and ignorance, right? A conditioned soul is surrendered by the manifold miseries of material existence, but on account of his gross ignorance, he is unable to remove the troubles due to dirty things in the heart. That is the problem. Accumulated during the long prison life in the material world. He is actually meant to serve the will of the Supreme Lord, but on account of the dirty things in the heart, so contamination in the heart, he likes to serve his concocted desires. These desires, instead of giving him any peace of mind, create new problems and thus bind him to the cycle of repeated birth and death. These dirty things of fruity active work and empiric philosophy can be removed only by association with the Supreme Lord. The Lord, being omnipotent, can offer his association by his inconceivable potencies. Thus, persons who are unable to pin their faith on the personal feature of the Absolute are given a chance to associate with his Virat Roop, or the cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord. The cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord is a feature of his unlimited potencies. Since the potent and the potencies are identical, even the conception of his impersonal cosmic feature helps the conditioned soul to associate with the Lord indirectly and thus gradually rise to the stage of personal contact. So I'll read that again. The cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord is a feature of his unlimited potencies. Since the potent and the potencies are identical, so that's the absolute truth. Even the conception of his impersonal cosmic feature helps the conditioned soul to associate with the Lord indirectly. This is the problem. It's indirect association. We want direct association, and thus gradually rise to the stage of personal contact. But that takes a long time. That was the point. Now, Maharaj Parikshit was already directly connected with the personal feature of Lord Krishna. He met Krishna before he was even born. And such he had no need to inquire from Shukadeva Goswami about where and how to apply the mind in the impersonal Virat Roop of the Lord. So as we were saying last week, that even the cosmos, the cosmic energy, the hills and the rivers and the sun, some people see all that as God, right? The Virat Roop. Virat Roop is basically all the 14 planetary systems, everything. The universe itself is seen as the Virat Roop, all the material energy. So there's like different aspects of the Virat Roop, what the Yashodama saw, what Arjun saw, and somebody else I think also saw. They saw the different aspects of the Virat Roop. I mean, Yashodama did not see soldiers being killed and being chewed between the teeth. She just saw the universe and all the planets there, like that. So since the potent and the potencies are identical, even the conceptions of his impersonal cosmic feature helps the conditioned soul to associate with the Lord indirectly and thus gradually rise to the stage of personal contact. So Maharaj Parikshit was already directly connected with the personal feature of the Lord, Shri Krishna, and as such he had no need to inquire from Shukadeva Goswami about where and how to apply the mind in the personal Virat Roop of the Lord. But he inquired after detailed description of the matter for the benefit of others who are unable to conceive of the transcendental personal feature of the Lord as the form of eternity, knowledge and bliss. The non-devotee class of man cannot think of the personal feature of the Lord. Most people don't even know that Krishna is God and he is the most attractive. Because of the pure fund of knowledge, the personal form of the Lord, like Ram or Krishna, is completely revolting to them. They have a poor estimation of the potency of the Lord. In the Bhagavad-Gita 9:11, it is explained by the Lord himself that people with poor fund of knowledge deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead of the Lord, taking him to be a common man. And Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita himself that many people deride him. Such men are ignorant of the inconceivable potency of the Lord. By the inconceivable potency of the Lord, he can move in human society or any other society of living beings and yet remain the same omnipotent Lord, without deviating in the slightest from his transcendental position. So for the benefit of men who are unable to accept the Lord in his personal internal form, Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Swami how to fix the mind on him in the beginning, and the Goswami replied in detail as follows. Now here's the interesting thing here to notice, that Maharaj Parikshit, he's sitting there more or less on his deathbed. He's going to die in 7 days. He's inquiring what's the duty of a person who's about to die. And he's also asking questions for other people. He's not just thinking about himself that, hey, I'm about to die here, 7 days left, so I better gather enough spiritual points to go back home to Godhead. He's asking questions that will benefit all mankind, just like the sages of Naimisharanya, but they're not expecting to die in 7 days. Maharaj Parikshit is, and yet still he's acquiring things that will benefit all mankind. And this is a true devotee. He's to his last breath, he wants to save humanity. He wants to save people from Kali Yuga, as he was before when he approached Kali. Amazing. So 22, just to add to that, it's mentioned that we inquire or learn about these other processes so we can appreciate how glorious devotion service is. So what we were saying earlier. So due to dirty things in the heart, instead of serving Krishna, we serve our desires, as we said. They further create problems for themselves by serving these desires. We get all sorts of whims and fancies, and they only land us in trouble. For the people who are not ready for bhakti, yoga or philosophy, doesn't make any sense. They can take prasadam. So for different souls, different levels is required. So if you're not ready for philosophy, for understanding the Lord, so which means that it's because there's contamination in the heart, because we're not trying to learn anything new. We're just trying to remember what we already know. It's simple as that. It's all there in the heart. We're just trying to remember what we already know. But because we're having difficulty even connecting to it, so Srila Prabhupada has given us so many different stages. You can just come and just take prasad, and you find that in the temple, by prasad time, the temple is usually full. Where were these people when the class was going on? Where were these people when kirtan was going on? Like that. So they're not there, but they're there. But that's fine, because you have to start somewhere. You can start with prasad, you can start with kirtan, which will lead you to inquire more as you purification. All processes in Krishna consciousness are purificatory. Every process, eating prasad is purificatory, kirtan purificatory, chanting purificatory, listening to class, listening to pastimes purificatory. Every process. So as soon as we chant Hare Krishna, or we come to temple, or we listen to classes, the process begins. Only problem is that we have got so much contamination. We need to speed up the process, and it's going to take a long time. Depends on if you're going from Birmingham to London, you'll get there if you start heading in that direction. But what speed are you traveling? Or, what's your vehicle? Are you walking there? Are you going on a bicycle? Or, or in a car? Or in a plane? How you'll get there, but how long it takes depends on, the quality of your vehicle and how fast you're going. So this is why we stretch ourselves a little bit at a time, not overstretch, stretch ourselves so we can get to our destination, and always checking that we haven't taken a wrong turn somewhere as well. Stay on the motorway heading to London. Not if you come off, then you'll end up somewhere else. You won't come in London. Okay, so that's good. Next verse. So that was Maharaj Parikshit asking Rajovacha. So Shri Shukra Uvacha Jitasano Jit Shavaso Jit Sango Jitindriya Stule Bhagavato Rupe Manha Sandhare Diya. So Shri Shukra Uvacha, Shukadeva Goswami said, Jit Asanaha, controlled sitting posture. Jit Shavasa, controlled breathing process. Jit Sangha, controlled association. And Jit Indriya, controlled senses. Sthule, in the gross matter. Bhagavata, on to the personality Godhead. Rupe, in the feature of. Mana, the mind. Sandaryat, must apply. Dhiya, by intelligence. Shukadeva Swami answered, one should control the sitting posture, regulate the breathing process by the yogic pranayam, and thus control the mind and senses, and with intelligence apply the mind to the gross portions of the Lord called the Virat Rup. So still explaining this other process, but our process has the same effects. Chanting Hare Krishna, sitting in a place quietly, meditating on the Lord, chanting, instead of Om, we're chanting Hare, the Mahamantra. So like that, same process, our process is much easier. And I don't think we even bother following this process. Not many people would, right? The materially absorbed mind of the conditioned soul does not allow him to transcend the limit of the bodily conception of self. And thus the yoga system of meditation, controlling the sitting posture and breathing process and fixing the mind upon the Supreme is prescribed in order to mold the character of the gross materialist. As Srila Prabhupada said, sit up properly. So unless such materialists are able to cleanse the materially absorbed mind, it is impossible for them to concentrate upon thoughts of transcendence. And to do, someone may fix one's mind on the gross material or external feature of the Lord. The different parts of the gigantic form of the Lord are described in the following verses. The materialistic men are very anxious to have some mystic powers as a result of such a controlling process. But the real purpose of yogic regulation is to eradicate the accumulated dirty thing like lust, anger, avarice, and all such material contaminations. So this is the thing. So when you're doing, we all said that whether you're impersonalist or you're a yogi, it's still a material process because you have some material motivation in mind. And when you think of the impersonalist, that you don't want to serve anyone, you're looking for some kind of gratification in the Brahman. You want to be God, right? You want to be God. You want to be one with God. That means you want to be God. You think God. You're bringing God to your level. You're not going up to God's level because you can't. You're bringing God down to your level, right? Which is an offense. And then in the yoga process, you're really looking to get some benefit for yourself, get some kind of powers. So that is very material once again. So it says that then his mission of yogic success is a failure because the ultimate aim should be God realization. Sometimes you can forget that. If you get the powers, you start saying, I'm God, right? Falgu Baba, that you got these powers in time of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami and his father Bhaktivinoda Thakur. There was somebody called Falgu Baba, and that Falgu Baba, he was claiming to be God, and the British people, they were like, what's going on? Because he had powers for sure, mystic powers, and he was getting thousands and thousands of followers, and the British were getting worried because they did not like somebody having so much power on the people, because it can, for them, it causes a rebellion, right? So whatever the Baba says, people will do. So they were the police, the British police. They are worried that this guy has got too much power. The British were always like a handful when they were, colonizing the countries. There were only a handful of them, and they're controlling millions of people. How they're controlling? Because they had a system. They would never allow groups to gather or allow powerful leaders who could influence the mass population. They made sure there's never any gathering, any meetings. They had the scouts out there, the spies, just making sure they find out if there's anything going on, come and report back, and they will just go and sort them out. So they made sure the people stayed divided, never became one, because then if they revolted, there's no way they could control such a mass population, and rebellion would take place. So this point is that these people who get power, then they become very power hungry, and they want followers, and they forget God. They say that we are God. So yeah, so that is not a great or a recommended process. As soon as the potencies are understood to be instrumental manifestations of the transcendence, one automatically advances to the next step, and gradually the stage of full realization becomes possible for him. So that is the recommendation. See what we can add. So if you get mystic powers, as I was saying, you get trapped by the fact that I have powers to do things lighter than the light is. You can reach anywhere. So these are actually traps and obstacles to your bhakti. Even in devotion service, there are dangers. So even in devotion service itself, you have to look out for the weeds. Everyone giving respect or calling you Swami, you get fame and position and followers even in that. These are all possible traps. These benefits are meant to be offered back to Krishna, not to enjoy. Yeah, so even in bhakti, these things can creep up, and they can suffocate your bhakti lata. So you have to be very careful. When you see your bhakti lata growing, you'll find the weeds will grow alongside. So any of you who got allotments and growing flowers and plants and vegetables, you can see that the weeds will always grow. They find it much easier to grow than what you actually try to grow, right? What we're trying to grow is reliant on so many things. Slugs coming in, and the weather situation, too much rain, not enough sunshine, so many factors, the quality of soil. But the weeds, they grow anywhere. They grow on your driveway, on brick, on sand. So we have to be very careful of these weeds, of getting into tangle about our position, fame, and pride, so envy, like that. So you start competing with other people. You want to be better than them. So I have to be very careful that we don't fall into that illusion. So we have to keep a check on these things. So while we're trying to increase our bhakti lata, we're trying to reduce our things that are creeping up. Visheshastasya dahuyam stavishtascha staviyasam yatradam vyajayate vishvam bhutam bhavyam bhavat sat chasat. So Vishesh, personal, or Vishesha, personal. Tasya, his, deha, body, ayam, this, stavishta, grossly material, cha, and stavya, sam, of all matter, yatra, wherein, idam, all these phenomena, vyajayate, his experience, vishvam, universe, bhutam, past, bhavyam, future, bhavat, present, cha, and sat, resultant. So this gigantic manifestation of the phenomenal material world as a whole is the personal body of the absolute truth, wherein the universal resultant past, present, future of material time is experienced. So anything either material or spiritual is but an expansion of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in Bhagavad-Gita 13:13. So is para and apar energies, inferior and superior energies. The omnipotent Lord has his transcendental eyes, heads, and other bodily parts distributed everywhere. He can see, hear, touch, or manifest himself anywhere and everywhere, for he is present everywhere as a super soul. So inside us, he is present as a super soul of all infinitesimal souls, although he has his particular abode in the absolute world. The relative world is also his phenomenal representation, because it is nothing but an expansion of his transcendental energy. Although he is in his abode, his energy is distributed everywhere, just as the sun is localized. So sun is his own position, as well as expanded everywhere as sunshine, as his energy. So Krishna expands like the sun by his energy. Since the rays of the sun being none different from the sun, because they're coming from the sun, if there's no sunshine, then what would be the point of the sun? Are accepted as expansions of the sun disk. Now in the Vishnu Puran 122:52, it is said that as fire expands its rays and heat from one place, similarly the Supreme Spirit, the Personality of Godhead, expands himself by his manifold energy everywhere and anywhere. The phenomenal manifestation of the gigantic universe is only a part of his Virat body. So there's just a very minor part. This is just one universe. There's unlimited universes, and then they are only a quarter of the spiritual world. Less intelligent men cannot conceive of the transcendental all spiritual form of the Lord, but they are astounded by his different energies. Just as the Aborigines are struck with wonder by the manifestation of lightning, a gigantic mountain, or a hugely expanded banyan tree, the Aborigines praise the strength of the tiger and the elephant because of the superior energy and strength. And these are just vibhutis from the Lord, but that these people can worship these vibhutis. The Asuras cannot recognize the existence of the Lord, although there are vivid descriptions of the Lord in the revealed scriptures. Although the Lord incarnates and exhibits his uncommon strength and energy, and although he is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by learned scholars and saints like Vyasadeva, Narada, Asita, and Devala in the past, and by Arjuna in the Bhagavad-Gita, as also by the Acharyas like Shankar, Ramanuja, Madhava, and Lord Sri Chaitanya in the modern age. The Asuras do not accept any evidential proof from the revealed scriptures, nor do they recognize the authority of the great Acharyas. So that's the difference between the Asuras and the divine. Whereas we are actually Jivas, we are between the Asuras, so we're not Asuras, and we're definitely not divine yet anyway. We can become divine, we can become asuras. So we're the marginal energy. We are in the middle, in between. Although the divine and the asuras also are marginal energies, but they have become divine or they have become asuras. So therefore, they can see the gigantic body of the Lord as Virat. So they want to see with their own eyes at once. So these are people, the asuras, they want to see with their own eyes at once. Therefore, they can see the gigantic body of the Lord as Virat, which will answer their challenge. And since they are accustomed to paying homage to superior material strength like that of the tiger, elephant, and lightning, they can offer respect to the Virat Roop. Lord Krishna, by the request of Arjuna, exhibited his Virat Roop for the Asuras, a pure devotee of the Lord, being unaccustomed to looking into such a mundane, gigantic form of the Lord. So, Lord Krishna, by the request of Arjuna, exhibited his Virat Roop for the Asuras. Okay. The Lord therefore favored Arjuna with special vision for looking into his Virat Roop, which is described in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. This Virat Roop of the Lord was especially manifested not for the benefit of Arjuna, but for the unintelligent class of men who accept anyone and everyone as an incarnation of the Lord, and so mislead the general mass of people. For them, the indication is that one should ask the chief incarnation to exhibit his Virat Roop and thus be established as an incarnation. So any Falgu Baba claims to be God, then say, okay, show us your Virat Roop. That Arjuna saw. The Virat Roop manifestation of the Lord is simultaneously a challenge to the atheist and a favor for the Asuras, who can think of the Lord as Virat and thus gradually cleanse the dirty things from their hearts in order to become qualified to actually see the transcendental form of the Lord in the near future. This is a favor of the all merciful Lord to the atheist and gross materialist. So let's read that again. The Virat Roop manifestation of the Lord is simultaneously a challenge to the atheist and a favor for the Asuras, who can think of the Lord as Virat and thus gradually cleanse the dirty things from their hearts in order to become qualified to actually see the transcendental form of the Lord in the near future. So again, it said that any process you follow that leads, you are interested in knowing God, it is a cleansing process. So as long as you go in the right direction, even if you're walking, it will still lead you in the right direction. So that was 24. We can stop here. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands its energy like the sun expands its rays, and fire expands its heat. If you claim to be God, show your Virat Roop. Give me eyes like Arjuna got to see the Virat Roop. Yeah. So are you able to give Divya Drishti to anyone to see your Virat Roop? Or can you show your Virat Roop? Because real God can. If you claim to be God, then you should be able to do all those activities as well. So let's stop sharing, and love to hear from you. Okay, I think Pundikash Prabhu had to go by the looks of it, so we can go to Kira Prabhu. Hare Krishna
Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yes, I think this demonstrates if we remain attached to the lotus feet of Krishna, we will remain satisfied.
Yeah.
We are unsatisfied simply because we are entangled and attracted to tinsel and trash. The feet of the lotus feet, the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord is our constitutional home. And it is because we deviate and we love to wander away and explore other avenues. And in that exploration, of the material world, we do ourselves damage. Our hearts and our minds become contaminated. The dirty things of this world affect our physical bodies, our social and emotional well-being, and hence we fall into depression, low moods, and different type of mental health issues. But if we remain anchored to the lotus feet of Krishna, there's only bliss and joy. There's no need, there won't be any difficulties with our minds and our hearts. And being associated with the Shastras and being in association with like-minded people will give us that perpetual connection with divinity. And the process is given to us. This is a handbook. Krishna in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is speaking to us daily. There was a time when he left the Yadu dynasty, but Krishna has returned in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. He tells us how we can regain that purification. We have to just chant the Hare Krishna mantra. We have to be in the company of like-minded people. We don't need to be attracted to fake and false gurus, because their siddhis and their mystical powers are only temporary. And until they can show us their Virat Roop, then they will still remain fakes and cheaters. Anybody who claims to be God has to demonstrate his Virat Roop. And if you can't demonstrate the Virat Roop, then you are nothing but false and a fake. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you for your input. Absolutely. Hina Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much. We hear in these verses about the Virat Rup form of the Lord and how it's recommended for meditation for those who are still, you could say, very much still attached to material conceptions and who cannot still fix their mind on a more personal form of the Lord. So it's almost like a beginner's meditation aid. It's like the stepping stone for people at the early stages, essentially. And I think that's great. And when you think about it, that wherever you are, whatever stage you're at, the Lord's provided a way for everyone to connect with him. So he's making himself available and he meets you where you are. So if that's how you're able to relate to him, through nature, through more materialistic concepts, that's fine, in an impersonal way, that's absolutely fine. You're still on that first rung of the ladder, so to speak. You're still on that, you're going in the right direction, let's say. You're going in the right direction compared to, say, more of an atheistic outlook. And then I was thinking about how, if we talk a little just about the personal form, like we know that the Lord is much more than his universal form. Krishna is personal, and this is his original form, which remains supreme, and that personal realization is the ultimate goal. Essentially, that's what we should be endeavoring for. I think those were my key points. And just another point was around how it was covered off in text 23 around having a materialistic mindset. doesn't allow us to be fully absorbed in Krishna as well. It's actually very much a distraction. It can result in us accumulating tendencies like lust, anger, greed, where we become more self-absorbed as opposed to being God-realized. So, and I think we've touched on this topic before around the importance of detachment, essentially from a materialistic standpoint. So, that was everything. So, thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, all throughout every scripture, we are talking about devotion service because that is the process, right? Sabandha, Abhidheya, Prayojan, and the Abhidheya is the devotion service. This is how we connect. So every scripture is divided into these three things. So the devotion service part will always be there to show us how to connect our relationship to the goal that we want to achieve, which is Krishna Prem. So that is always necessary. And now he's just telling us that even having found the process, having discovered the goal, just be careful of the traps that are there. Be careful of the obstacles. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is telling us so much. It's like having the teacher there in front of us, that like telling us that just be careful of that. Be careful of that. While it's like being on a journey. We have to be careful of other cars, right? And we have to be careful that we just don't suddenly take the wrong turn. So many things. So we are on a spiritual journey, and we can help each other on that journey. At least if it's considered like a plane, the said people help you to while you're on the ground, but up there when you're flying your plane, then you have to help yourself as well. So while we're on the ground, we can do the preparations, but we still have to fly our own plane. So we make sure we take the advice and the help of the seniors, of the scriptures, Guru Shastra, and Sadhu. Take help of that always. We should never think that we arrived or we know everything. There's always a danger of doing that, especially if we're getting a bit of fame and position. Then you think, oh, I made it now. Like everybody thinks I'm great. Now, if you're getting some kind of appreciation, offer it back to the Lord. Offer it back to Srila Prabhupada, because without his guidance, his help, we would be lost. We would be nowhere. Brilliant. So, unless there's anything else, anybody else wants to contribute, please do. You can unmute yourself. Otherwise, we can end here and catch up again on Wednesday. Okay. Gantra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Prem Nande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you all so much.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.